We're normally a 5 p.m. kind of vibe around here, but I have the lovely Terry beside me. How are you?
Well, putting out fires as usual, Aaron,
Oh,
as we are because we're late. So bit disappointed that it's not the happy hour,
it's a
but
bit of, we've got coffee. What's that
we've
all
got
about?
coffee. So what
Come
can I
on.
say?
Look, I'm going to rename you the extinguisher, okay? Or the fire starter. I'm not sure which one or the other.
Definitely,
Yeah.
it's appropriate.
I think
Actually,
so. I think so. Absolutely.
yeah,
We'll get your red outfit. You'll be fine.
yeah. That's right.
Hey, we've got a guest there on the screen, ready to rock and roll. So would you like to do the lovely introductions for the lovely Heather?
I would indeed. Well, we have the amazing Heather Rose. Now, Heather is a trained environmental scientist, Aaron,
Okay, it's a big title.
and, conservation biologist
Yep.
and former university researcher with over 5 years of formal study,
Okay.
where she devoted her career to restoring ecosystems. So we know that there's a lady on Edge Radio that would love to meet
Oh,
her, I am sure. However, and the reason that I have her with me today is that she got a nudge,
a
little
nudge. We like a nudge.
like a whisper that got her to have a complete massive change. And this is going to be very enlightening for those people who don't listen, Aaron, who don't.
Sorry, what was that? What was that?
Yeah, they don't listen to what's going on. They don't take the message. You know, when life's not working,
Yeah, totally.
and things are going wrong, or you're putting out fires. Well, that is really what this is about. And Heather's
Okay.
going to be the epitome example of someone who did listen. So
Excellent.
that little nudge whisper. So, hello, Heather, how are you? And tell us where you are from.
I am in Nevada City, California. I'm doing great. How are you?
We're
I'm
great.
good.
Yeah, look at that. In
Yeah.
unison, we are very, very happy. Great to have you here. And basically, what Terry was saying before, we have a wonderful person here, Martine Shepherd, who does a lot of our environmental shows and knows far more than I would ever.
And me.
Well, there we go. I'm not even going to pretend to know 10% of what she knows. So we must get the two of you together to have a chat.
I
Yeah.
love that.
Yes, yes, indeed. However, let's go into the calling on your life, the whisper that happened, and what happened to you and what you transformed into, what you decided to completely pivot into.
I was in my career loving every minute of it. So a lot of times that calling doesn't come when things are going wrong. Sometimes it comes when everything's going right. And I was doing these projects I loved. I worked with different professors from really incredible universities and felt like I was really making a difference, sitting in on, designing experiments to do biodiversity inventories. I mean, it was a big deal. And I was presented with two really big opportunities. And in that time, I had this message come through that was, if you don't leave this career right now, then something's going to happen and you need to walk away.
Wow.
That's
And,
big
well,
calls.
in the podcast, you went as far as to say that, you could end up having a crash,
No,
Yeah,
not so.
or having something really bad happen in your life.
right.
And can you talk me through that? Because when I listened back to the podcast, I kind of went, oh, what does this mean? And obviously, this is not always the case, but what could be the reason that you have that philosophy?
I didn't know any of the things that I then learned and opened up to. But if we talk energy, if we want to talk energetics, like we are energy and all around us is this universal energy field, and our soul, it will speak to us. And if we don't listen, things have to happen. It has to speak louder and louder and louder. And some part of me was still really connected to that soul voice of my own, where I was receiving the message, if you don't listen, then something is going to have to happen. Like you'll get in an accident, you'll develop a terminal illness,
Ooh.
This is something you really need to listen to. And I just felt that. I knew that. I understood that inside of myself. And I see
Mm.
that happen often in my work with people, which probably is not the time to talk about that. But the universe will keep giving you messages until you listen. Hopefully, we can do that consciously
Yeah.
and not have to have something sideline us in our life to do that.
It's very interesting. I hear all of these conversations about energy, okay? And before in my world, I came from the world of the great cynic. And I used to hear people talking about energy and this and that, and basically everything you've just described. And I used to think, oh God, another hippie loony, right?
Yeah.
Off we go. And I could sort of doing this motion in my brain, basically. Didn't believe in it at all. And it's so interesting how you've just put that, because some events happened in my life that slaps me around,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
A house
Okay.
burning down?
Oh, that was easy compared to most of the other stuff that's gone on. But I've had really big events happen in my life to change my life forever. And for me, that was the big slap across the old face to say, oh, hang on, these crazy hippies were actually right.
Yeah,
Okay, and
yeah.
this exchange of energy is very, very true.
Are you
And
calling me an overdressed hippie?
I would never call you overdressed. Boom, boom. Um, but it's interesting, because if someone like myself, who's a cynic, okay, can embrace that, I think we all can.
Yes. Oh, look, if we can convince you, Aaron,
Yep.
I mean, I saw the look on your face the day, I mean, Wayne Brown
Yes,
obviously kind of connected us
he
and
did.
we organised a call. And then I came in and sat down with you and Travis was kind of jumping around like the playful monkey that he is. But you're kind of looking at me kind of like, oh, what's this chick talking
What's
about?
she
You
on
know, like,
about? This one,
and
yeah.
I knew you didn't, not that I'm a mind reader, but I could tell that you were very cynical about what I was talking about. And interesting that as time went on, then you said to us, well, our show got 150,000 views.
Exactly right. Exactly
So,
right.
you know, there you have it. So, you know, Heather, you grew up, and obviously there was a lot of trauma around your upbringing, and you had a lot of physical ailments. So, you knew what it was like to have infections and pain. And then came the out of body
Oh,
experience.
oh, hang on.
So, can you talk us through, you know, because out of body experience does sound a little bit woo woo, but you know, quite often when I'm sort of thinking about it, if we're not present, we are outside of our body. However, do you want to talk us through what happened for you when you were growing up, how the ailments were connected with trauma, and how you actually got through that?
Yes, we all will dissociate in experiences of trauma, especially when we're children. And I had a lot of emotional abuse and verbal abuse, but also physical abuse. And I remember being really young and how much that hurt. Like I was little and this was an adult. And I remember how painful that was. And there was a day that I was being hit and I didn't feel it anymore. And I just thought, this is great. Like I don't feel it. And I understood, you know, as I was doing my healing work and learning all the things that I was learning and in my energy healing program that, oh, it didn't hurt anymore because I wasn't in my body anymore. But that's how
Gotcha.
we survive trauma. We're neurobiologically wired to dissociate. And our,
Right.
you know, our young nervous systems can't handle that kind of impact constantly happening. So we leave as protection, not consciously, but
Yeah.
our system allows that so we can make it through whatever experience we have to endure until we're old enough to get ourselves out of that.
That's really helpful for me because I used to deal with a lot of adolescents and they would quite often use the word numb.
Right.
You know, they
Yeah.
felt numb. And I'm like, oh, okay. And, you know, because you're coming from the scientific way about that. So that is really, you know, a good explanation of why we do, on a neurological, biological level, actually leave our body. And, you know, as for a lot of the illnesses, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of listeners that have some ailment of some
Oh,
sort,
that's
whether it
right.
is, the infection kind, the pain, the arthritis. You were on a lot of medication and a lot of antibiotics, and you were doing that for a lot of years until you discovered this work. So, would you like to share that with Aaron and myself and our audience?
I'd
Yes.
love to hear.
I mean, I was raised a Western medicine kid,
Okay.
and I was always getting sick. And interestingly, when you learn about your energetic system and your different energy centers, they govern different parts of our physical body, different organs and organ systems, different emotions, different parts of our being. And so it made a lot of sense where I was always having throat infections and ear infections. And then later I had a lot of lung problems and trouble breathing.
Wow.
And your throat is your voice, like being able to speak and share your truth and speak your power. And obviously that was really shut down in my childhood. And then your lungs are grief, and there was a lot of grief of not having that loving connection that I really needed. And so when I went to Costa Rica and I found Barbara Brennan's book Hands of Light, and she was an astrophysicist for 15 years, and then started remembering that she saw energy fields when she was a child. And then she started studying the human energy field and the different universities that were conducting these experiments to look at the human energy field. And that really made sense to me. I started to really understand why I got sick all the time. Part of it was the way that I could rest, and I was always going and always trying to kind of be outside and not able to rest and relax in my house. But if I was sick, I was able to do that. But the manifestations of the illnesses really were connected to the trauma that I had.
Sneaky.
Yeah. Okay. So the illness, the sickness, was to create an opportunity for you to actually rest. Is that what you're
You're
saying?
getting good.
Oh,
You
gosh,
are getting damn good.
I'm winging this
I'm
like
telling
all
you,
of us through life, right?
higher purpose. You being ill to rest, your subconscious, yeah?
Absolutely.
You got it.
That's
You
interesting,
spot
isn't
it.
it?
You
That's
got
very
it.
interesting.
Yeah,
Oh, I have my
yeah.
moments.
And also, you're talking about the throat chakra. This is a really big one. I come across a lot because in the industry that I'm in, people have to show up, they have to talk, they
Yep.
have to do their thing, and a lot of them are either feeling held back by rejection, judgment, fear.
Right.
They don't want to show up. They're scared to show up. But this is all from the past, and it's your throat chakra. And if your throat chakra
Sure.
is blocked, usually talk about the throat chakra and perhaps even explain about the chakras, because there's 5 chakras. And I love what you said about the lungs and meaning grief. So that's very interesting, because when you know what's the connection and you have that awareness, it's very powerful.
It is so powerful. And we all really need to be empowered by understanding our energetic system. We have an energetic system. It works. It's how our whole body operates, not just our physical body, but our emotions, our growth at becoming conscious. And we are all really spiritual beings also. So every energy center is important to develop, have that working and open and functioning properly. We have 7 major chakras. And in a lot of spiritual communities, the first 3 chakras, the root, the second chakra, and the third chakra, are really ignored. And people want to do, third eye openings and have their 6th chakra open and have their psychic sight open. And we need the lower chakras, and they're not lower because they're lower vibration. They're our foundation. That's what allows us to bring
Vibration, aren't they?
our genius
Sure.
through, from our divine self, through our crown chakra, and bring something meaningful that we're here to do onto the earth. So without those chakras developed properly and healthy, we have a hard time doing that. So you'll see really brilliant people that have all these ideas, but they can't do anything with that. And those first three chakras are the ones that are damaged the most in early childhood and early childhood trauma. So
do we find a situation where, like you were talking about, we kind of go for the higher chakras where people are trying to I don't know, achieve something at a higher level? Is this maybe because, okay, to use an American term, everyone wants to be the quarterback? Okay, is it maybe that we all want the glory spot, or if you're an Aussie rules guy, you want to be full forward? Maybe we don't concentrate on the foundations and the important things that we probably need. We need a good defence. We need other people who are doing the grunt work, if you like. Maybe are we avoiding the chakras that actually do the hard work behind the scenes because we're chasing the glory ones?
I'm wondering if Aaron's talking left and right brain actually on that one, where you've got the right brain, which is the creative and the flow and the energy flow, and then you've got the left brain, which is more the logical and practical administrative side. And, you'll usually find that people are way out of balance. But anyway, over to you, Heather.
Every energy center is like a mini brain and a mini processing center. So mostly as Westerners, we operate here in the mind and we think that that's where everything is. And it's our entire energetic system that is meant to govern and help us to really be in the wholeness of who we are. So if we're only operating in our mind, then we're missing out on all of the other centers that are intelligent and are operating and meant to be functioning in our lives so that we have health and that we are able to really show up and be who we are. But the answer to your question about why we're so, in the upper chakras is because we're upper chakra dominated usually through trauma, through some
in the head
traumatic event where we actually go into our upper chakras to leave the body and be safe.
Right.
Are you in your body right now, Aaron?
Unfortunately, I'd order another one, but unfortunately, I went onto eBay, I looked around,
Couldn't find one.
ended up with something from Temu. It was just very small.
Some stuff from Temu the other day. No, but seriously, I asked the question because what Heather Rose is actually talking about is, when we are in our body, we're very present and we are and we've got far more chance of being in our genius zone. And the connection here with Heather Rose, as is all the people that come onto the genius zone, is that their pain was transmuted to power.
Yeah.
And, their wound became their wisdom. And I can really see how this has happened. And you say that it takes 17 seconds for stress to actually hit the nervous system of the body and then kind of go where the immune system just kind of shuts down or breaks down, because that's where we get kind of open to sickness, isn't it? Because of the stress that is undealt with. Do you want to talk to us about that, Heather?
Yes, there's now 40 years of science showing that our nervous system and our immune system are intertwined. And when our nervous system is always in that fight or flight, it's like if you had your car in park and you were just stepping on the gas, what's going to happen to your engine? Eventually it's going to burn up. So that's what's happening to our nervous system. And at the same time, that's also affecting our immune system. So when we constantly have that nervous system stress that's stuck in that fight or flight loop, then our immune system starts to weaken. And that's when, the disease starts to come in. You could be someone who is, emotionally healthy and physically healthy and be next to somebody that's sick. I have kids. When they're sick, they want you to lay with them. And sometimes they're like coughing in your face. And, if you're emotionally nervous system healthy, immune system healthy, you won't get sick. You can have that barrier and that strong, we call it ojas and Ayurveda. That's your field's really strong. Your energy's really, the inner is strong. The outer is strong. So you're impermeable to all those other things coming in.
That's so good. And I'd like to share too, just so we get we can sort of timely get everything in that we want to get in, and that is that we're going to do a little meditation. Is that okay at the
Oh,
end?
of course it is, yeah.
It'll only be a few minutes, but I do want to warn watchers, listeners, that if you are staying till the end, make sure you're not driving if you do hear this. But I'd like to share something too, and that is that with regards to what Heather Rose is talking about with the immune system and how it can shut down. And I learnt this from a shamanic healer many, many years ago. And that is that when we do have stress, we usually feel it first. We're not so emotionally intelligent that we walk around going, how do I feel? How do I feel? How do I feel? So it's not like that. It's more like, I feel like,
Everything tightens up.
and you feel like that, but you don't process it. And so if you don't process it, that's when it makes your immune system really vulnerable. So that's what Heather's talking about. But if I can just give a little practical thing that I learnt, because I feel that it would be nice to share it with our listeners, that is that what is 2 times negative in science? 2 times negative equals a positive. Who got it right? Okay, big tick. Okay,
It's been a long time since I've been at school, but there we go.
Two negatives does equal a positive, believe it or not.
All right, okay, I'll go with that.
That's
Sounds
why
good.
we're so compatible
Is that right?
on the show.
That's terrifying, but all right.
I'm joking.
I'm with you.
Anyway, so what happens is when you're in a situation where you are feeling the feels and they're not good feels, ask yourself the question, what am I feeling? Now, let's just say it's a bit agitated or maybe overwhelmed or whatever, usually one thing. Then say, okay, let's go agitated.
Okay.
Okay, how am I feeling? I'm feeling agitated. What does agitated feel like? Well, it could be frustrated. So then say, I feel frustratingly agitated. Now, because you say those 2 negative things, and those neurons that fire off and usually hit the nervous system, in the 17 seconds, as Heather Rose is talking about, suddenly don't. They don't do that. It stops that from hitting the nervous system. Can you kind of explain that a little bit better in scientific terms, Heather Rose?
I think it's better to explain it in feeling terms. And, it's like our bodies are really wise. And when there is a feeling that we consider negative or something we don't want to feel, if we breathe into that feeling and we are present with that in our bodies, that feeling can complete its circuit and move and be done. And it happens so quickly, but people spend their whole life trying to avoid a feeling. And that when we don't feel that feeling and we just shove it down, that's when it becomes an energetic block. That's when it starts to shut down that energy center, the natural flow. We have a central channel that flows through all of the energy centers. We need that to be flowing as well, to be healthy and grounded and doing here on the earth what we're here to do. And so that people are so afraid of that feeling, but if you just breathe into it and feel it, it'll move and be done with. And then there's peace and there's openness and there's expansion there.
A lot of people aren't doing what they're here to do. That's kind of, I think that they use fear so much to hold themselves back rather than allow themselves to feel.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if I'm explaining that terribly well, but to give it a go, if you actually allow yourself to experience the entire feeling, the entire circuit, and I love the fact that you said circuit, that makes sense to me, the whole lap of it. If you allow yourself to do that, you actually, you open yourself up to so many more opportunities and you actually can do what you're here on earth to do. Yeah.
Because you're embracing it.
You're embracing it.
You are learning a lot on this show.
Oh,
aren't
look,
you?
that's what I'm here for.
On all
right?
your shows, because all your shows are just so empowering, and there's so much to learn.
We've got some pretty amazing people here.
We
It's very
have.
lucky.
It's just amazing to be here amongst everyone, and so I definitely hear what Aaron's saying there, and bearing in mind that we're going to do a little meditation and we've got questions too.
Let's get on to those questions.
And I would love to bring those questions on board. Aaron's going to
We'll organise that
give
for you
the
right now.
Spanish Inquisition.
Look, why not indeed? Now, let's have a look. Our first question up there, let's bring it up. This is from Genevieve. Hello, Genevieve. Now, Genevieve is all the way from beautiful Toronto. Now, unfortunately, this is going to start off in a very negative way. She grew up in an abusive family, and I still feel the effects of that today. I get triggered often, and it's hard to feel calm or safe in my own body. And just wait for the screen to pop up. It's just gone. I've just lost it for the moment. How can I heal that trauma?
So what would you say to that for Genevieve, Heather Rose? What would you suggest?
I would really suggest working with a qualified bioenergetic healer to help her move that trauma, because the trauma is operating in the body. It's unconscious, and we need to feel safe and supported to be able to move that. And also to feel when the triggers come up, to feel those triggers and breathe into where she feels them in her body and allow herself to be present with that. She can visualize that she's breathing golden light in. Golden light is the vibration of source and divine love and protection and transformation. And that can start to open and release that, because it is being held in her body. And to her nervous system, she's still that little child that's receiving that abuse. That little child is still living in that experience until that energy is moved out of the body. She can also remind herself in the moment, what's happening right now? Where am I? Oh, I'm in this room. I'm safe. Nothing's happening. In the present moment, in my body, I'm safe here. Because we have to get that nervous system to come out of dysregulation and out of that cycle of the fight or flight that it'll be in when you're abused as a child growing up.
I'm going to throw something out here that is completely left field, well and truly, and I don't want to take away from Genevieve in any way, shape, or form, because I'm sure what she's feeling. So this is her thoughts have actually just made me think about a memory in my life, an experience in my life. So this is nothing to do with Genevieve, but work with me here. There's a link, right?
That's how it goes.
Yeah. So okay, I've got an older sister, and long story short, over the last, I don't know, decade or so, she has come out and has been telling the world, actually probably longer than that she was abused as a child, okay? That she was physically abused, emotionally abused, not going, right? And it's not true, okay? She wasn't. I grew up in the same house. There wasn't any abuse at all. It's a blatant lie for attention. And to validate the fact that she's has no personal responsibility. Okay, so it's just disgusting. I mean, by definition now, if you were raised in the 70s and the 80s, we're all abused by today's definition. Okay, because I can't
say you're naughty.
Oh man, absolutely. And I learned to. I was a very troublesome kid, and I learned to run with my bum 2 feet in front of my body because I was going to get smacked in the bum, right? And I'm thankful for that, because there's a difference between discipline of 70s and 80s style and abuse.
Yeah, absolutely.
So many people now, and I'm seeing it too often. I'm seeing it way too often. People who won't take accountability for their own mistakes in their lives are inventing this abuse from their past. It's happening a lot.
It could be very real for her, though, Aaron. Like, for example,
only if you're mentally unwell.
It's never too late to have a happy childhood. That is a presupposition of NLP, right?
Okay.
And everybody looks through the lens of a different perspective. I mean, even my sister and I mean, neither of us say that because our parents were both amazing parents. But I swear that we grew up in a different household. No kidding, because the way that she sees our childhood is completely different to mine. And so what somebody may internalize as abuse may have been you're not good enough, or you're not as good as Aaron at that, and then they might, do you know what I'm saying? So it can be
I totally, of course
perceptive.
it's got to be perspective, absolutely, but I just think that we're going through a generation right now of people who don't take personal responsibility and they want to blame something. And
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, we are all shaped by our
Take
childhood.
responsibility then.
Take responsibility.
I hear
It's
that.
not everyone else's fault. Like, you've
Yeah.
got to actually own your own past. So as I say, I mean, I'm speaking from myself and from the heart. Like, as I say, I was an incredibly difficult child, and my parents
Could have given you a run for your money, I'm sure.
yeah, probably more than likely. Yeah, my parents are absolute saints for what they put up with, but at the same time, yeah, I think that. Guess what? Okay, when I grew older and I had my own children, and I understand a little personal responsibility, in my eyes anyway, I realised that that I had to own what I did, and I just. I'm meeting a lot of people at the moment who are going through the same sort of thing, where they're just living a life of refusal to accept, that they've actually made the mistakes, and they're blaming their childhood, and they're blaming their parents, and they're blaming their. How about we just take a little ownership?
Well, that is a huge upgrade for you, because what that means is that you're claiming back your power. So when a person is in a situation where their victim mentality, they're the victim, they have no power, they're powerless. When people come to the conclusion that, even though that was a bad thing that happened to me, they claim their power back and say, well, that's what was happening for me.
Sure.
As you know, you've heard the
100%.
thing. But just to kind of complete the question for Genevieve, a couple of things Heather Rose has really illuminated on the show is, number one, breathing through.
Okay.
So you may have recalled Heather Rose, otherwise go back and listen, just to breathe through the scenario. And number two, just very quickly, the golden light, from the heavens above, from the Creator, whatever you believe in, through the crown of the head, the crown chakra, through to the third eye, the throat chakra, and then down through the body to the root chakra, and just expand it out, right? So that's golden light. So yeah, thanks for the question, Genevieve.
Yeah, it's great. And I just want to make sure, before we go any further, I'm not taking anything away from Genevieve at all. It triggers something, using that great word, triggered. It triggers something in me, because I'm seeing so much of it at the moment, and it's becoming quite, like, I want people to stop being professional victims and actually own your own life, right?
They don't even get paid to be a professional.
I know.
victim.
Come on, the
God,
pay is
what's going
terrible.
on?
Your thoughts there, Heather?
Yeah, I would just really love to speak to that, because I think it's really important to talk about, personal responsibility. I teach this in my classes. I teach this to my clients. I live this myself. Self-responsibility is spiritual law. Like, you are responsible for the choices you make. You're responsible for your actions. You're also responsible for your healing. And, speaking about the things that have happened, it's not putting blame on anyone. It's recognizing that there's something going on in your system where you're not really able to, regulate your nervous system, or be healthy, or you have depression, or you have anxiety. There are reasons that that's there. It doesn't come, science has now proven that depression is not hereditary. It's not genetic. That depression is suppression of your feelings.
Oh.
Anxiety is being dissociated, and your body is wanting your presence back in your body. And so whatever's showing up in your life, like the universal energy field, source, life, is going to show you what you've got going on inside. So when you keep attracting that same kind of relationship, or you keep having that same problem with every job you go to, or you get fired from every job because you have the same issue with, authority, like authority and authority issues sit in your third chakra. There's reasons for that. Like, you're not in your own authority. You're not in your own power. So life's a perfect map of what you've got going on inside, what you're vibrating out into the universal energy field. You're going to attract it back. But we are the ones that are responsible for our healing. And I don't talk about this in any way to blame parents. We are, we're coming through like generational trauma. We really are, And we have to acknowledge, like, a lot of people come from, my parents' generation, they had alcoholic, fathers or mothers, and that leaves them unable to be fully present in certain ways that, like, they needed to be. And if we're the ones that wake up and we're the ones that take responsibility for our healing, then we're not bringing that through to the future generations. And all we have to do is look at the world and see that there's a lot of things that are a mess. There's a lot of ways that people are showing up that are harming other people. But if we really take responsibility and heal ourselves, then we will shift the reality moving forward. We'll bring through more conscious generations who will really be responsible for themselves and how they show up and how they treat other people.
I'm going to recommend a couple of songs. Couple of songs, why not? Go listen to Mike and the Mechanics in the Living Years, right? Every generation blames one before, right?
Oh, okay. Yep.
Let's look at, let's look at the Police. I'm sure the Russians love their children too. And let's look at Billy Joel. Okay, we didn't start
Listen
the
to
fire.
the radio, man. We didn't start the fire.
But it's true, we're living in our world, okay?
Yes,
This is where we live right now, and we're responsible for making the best of it. And we've all got our trauma, we've all got our negative and positive things we came from.
Yeah.
But how about
We'd be pretty boring without it,
Oh
right?
man, wouldn't we be dull?
Right? Imagine, I'm good, I'm great. Yeah, everything's just
I would be
rosy.
so bored. But okay, well, enough of that me yapping on. Let's go to our next question, and this comes from Sydney. So thank you very much, Linda, who's in Sydney, to be exact. Now, Linda says, I'm constantly feeling exhausted, even though I am not active. I'm starting to realise it's stress-related. Now, do you have any simple tips to regulate my nervous system?
It sounds like a bit of a, connection from the first. That Heather, over to you.
The constant exhaustion can be the nervous system always in overdrive. And so grounding yourself, like going outside and standing barefoot on the ground, and actually we have chakras on the bottom of our feet, and just asking those to open, because our whole system and our energetic system is a part of us, and we can just empty out whatever, we're carrying. We can also receive that energy from the earth. The magnetic field of the earth actually recharges the magnetic field of our body. I would say make sure you're not always doing screen time, and that you're going to bed by 10 o'clock, and that you're, obviously eating healthy, but also like spend time in nature, spend time filling up, and doing also Epsom salt baths can really clear your energetic system. Epsom salt bath with some clary sage or some vetiver. Those are things that can really clear your system, and vetiver is very grounding essential oil. Stay in there 20 minutes and then shower off, because it'll clear a lot of toxins out. And that's a way to get the nervous system to calm down and release whatever overload you might be carrying.
That's awesome. We used to live in Southern River, and I always say that house was haunted because there was so much bad stuff that happened in that house. And that was just last year, right? But we had a beautiful park right across the road. And I knew, because I've got a very hypo grandson, actually that's not the right word, but you know what I mean, he's very energetic, so he takes after me.
Got some go.
And so at the time he's 2 or 3, remembering, right? So he's 4 or 5 now. So I used to take his shoes off and walk him across the road, take my shoes off, and literally stand on the grass. I didn't know though, Heather, that we had chakras on the bottom of our feet. I do know that there's a lot, like if you put salt in your socks, that can work. And, I know the feet are a representation of the body because of reflexology, but I didn't know there were chakras. But stand right there on the grass. I used to do that with him, and just, even when he was running around, you're still kind of grounding into Mother Earth. So I love that. Thank you so much for that. I think we've got another question.
We do. Let's have a jump to that. I will just quickly say the whole get the old shoes off and get there outside is such an important thing. Like, it really is massively important. Big difference in my life that I haven't got that as access as much as I used to. Let's see, what have we got here? So, Henry, all the way from the UK. Great to have a message from so far away. Thanks, mate. Now, where are we? I'm thinking about attending a plant medicine retreat in Costa Rica. Sounds cool. Involves now psychedelics. I am really curious, but I'd love to know, is this safe and what should I be aware of?
So I guess Henry heard the podcast, knows that you understand scientifically about plant medicine,
Okay.
and he's going to this retreat. So I recall on our podcast you said no to psychedelics, but would you like to talk to us, or can you answer Henry's question in the best way you know how?
Absolutely. I know a lot of people go to plant medicine retreats for healing, and it can create this kind of perspective from outside of the body about the trauma, but it's not going to actually heal the trauma in the body. And if people have a lot of trauma in their system, it can actually be a way of bypassing and not healing, and using that experience as a way to leave the body, because you do leave the body in those situations. So there's
That makes sense.
there's better ways to do the healing than that. I feel I see a lot of people abusing the medicine ceremonies, and I have clients that'll say, well, I've been to 40 medicine ceremonies and I really healed so much, and then I go and work on their system, because I go into the energetic system and I feel where the trauma is, and there's so much trauma in their body. So they're not it doesn't line up with actually healing the trauma in the body. It can create a buffer for people to not feel that constant trauma in their body all the time. However, the trauma in their body is what needs to be healed and cleared. So I'm not someone who supports plant and spirit medicine. When I talk about, the spirit of the plants, I'm talking about every plant has shamans actually work with the spirit of the plant to heal people. And shamans would take a particular plant 3 times to get to know the plant spirit and the plant song. And then they would call on that plant spirit to actually heal the person. So there's a lot of misunderstanding and people who don't really understand how to properly use plants. And it's a way that people are really distancing themselves from their body instead of coming in. The only way out is in. We have to come into the body.
I'm so glad, because, a lot of my peers all do that psychedelic medicine, and, it's scary, the experience that they have. It's very psychedelic, but they reckon they break open, it really just cracks them open. So I'm all for plant medicine. I like plant moringa, for example, and that's grown in the Himalayas, and that's the one that we use, which is really good. Interestingly, I have been giving my husband, who had out of control diabetes, cacao, medicinal mushrooms, and some spice remedies. And it is absolutely astounded the doctors, because all of a sudden his diabetic levels are almost perfect. And they have not been that way. And they're all puzzled. So they're so puzzled that they say, make sure you get a blood test from him before she comes, meaning me, and after she goes. Do a sugar level test before and after.
And what are you giving him again?
I'll have to kill you if I tell you.
Okay,
Go back and listen to the replay.
Oh, yes.
Do we have time for a meditation via Heather Rose?
Let's sneak one in. Absolutely.
Can we sneak one in for a couple of minutes?
Yep.
Before we go over to that, Heather, and I'd just like to remind everyone, if you are driving, please do not listen to this, because, it's only going to be a very light meditation, but still it's nice to be somewhere comfortable and safe. Is there anything you would love to share before we go into your meditation?
I just want people to remember that, who you really are is perfect and beautiful, and you are a divine being, and the trauma is not who you are. The bad feeling, the chaos in your system, that's a result of the past that hasn't been cleared yet, but that's not who you are. So just keep remembering that you are a divine being in a human body, that you are here for a reason, and open to that. Start opening to who you really are and what you're really here for, and it'll start to come in.
Okay. Now, I'm just going to warn you about something, Heather Rose, and that is that we'll go over to your meditation. But if you hear my voice pipe in, it's only because we're doing this special meditation and covering any gaps. So
Okay.
I'm going to ask you to start because radio likes the continuity of voice.
Very much so.
So, everybody, if you get yourself into a nice, relaxed position, you'll hear Heather's voice, and then sometimes you'll hear mine. Over to you, Heather Rose.
Okay, so everyone close your eyes and just start bringing your breath into your low belly.
That's
Feel
right.
that low belly expand, and that gets you out of your sympathetic nervous system fight or flight into the parasympathetic. Try
Go
to
on.
allow that to come deeply into the low belly and then empty out completely. And just start to let go of any thoughts that are happening. Feel if there are a lot of thoughts that they're just floating by and you're not attaching to any of them.
Release and let go now.
And then start to allow your crown at the top of your head, this beautiful chakra that connects into the pineal gland, and it spins up like a beautiful vortex above your head, or a beautiful tornado-like energy. As you
What
breathe, just allow this to open.
That's
And
right. Go
feel
ahead.
this extending up through the ceiling, through Earth's atmosphere, through the universe, all the way into that field of source, that energy where all creation comes from, divine love. Feel your crown connect into that field of infinite golden light that is pure unconditional love and transformation, protection. And then as you breathe, allow that energy of source, of the divine, of unconditional love to pour through your crown. Feel it moving into your third eye, and just allow that powerful golden light to cleanse any confusion that might be there, any distortions in your clear sight, anything that's blocking you from your clarity. And then allow that golden light to move into your voice, this center of your truth, of hearing the truth and speaking your truth. And allow this beautiful golden light to move through your throat center, clearing anything that blocks you from speaking clearly, from being in your power, the power of your voice, from sharing what you really need to share from love. And then allow that golden light to move into your heart. Start pouring that divine love into your heart, just helping to release anything that blocks you from sending that love that you are into the world, from receiving love. This is also a center of truth in our body and acceptance. So allow anything that blocks you from that acceptance to clear and release any old grief that's taking up space there that doesn't need to be there anymore. Feel your heart expanding. And then allow that golden light to move into the center of your belly, this solar plexus that's your seat of your self-esteem and worth, but it's also the seat of your power and your autonomy and your own authority. And anything that blocks you from your power, from being who you are, allow that beautiful golden light to start to clear and move that out of your body, letting the center open so you can feel your own power. And then allow this beautiful golden light to move into your second chakra. This is the seat of feelings, and your feelings are how your soul helps you navigate, shows you what to move away from and what will not serve you, and what to move towards and what will serve you. So anywhere that your feelings have been suppressed, anywhere that you have your creativity shut down, allow this golden light to move through the center and clear and open any past relationships that are lingering, that are ready to move so you can move forward in your life. Allow this center to be emptied out by this golden light, feeling it expand, trusting your feelings and allowing them to flow. And knowing that when you do that, they'll be balanced and not take you over. And then allow that divine light to move into your roots. This beautiful center connects into the tip of the sacrum and flows down into the earth like a beautiful tornado-like energy or funnel. And allow that golden light to move through your roots, and anywhere that there's cracks in your foundation, anywhere that your roots damaged, feel this divine light repairing and strengthening your root, sending it down into the earth, feeling your root moving through all the layers of the earth into the center of the earth, allowing this root to be grounded and stable and connected to the heart of the earth. And just take a moment to feel the energy of the earth, this beautiful planet that gives so much without asking for anything in return. And feel the love that the earth has for you and the support, all that you receive every day to be alive in this body. Feel the blessing that that is and the gifts. And then allow this divine light to flow through your entire body, moving through and carrying out any dense energy that's in your way. And just taking that right down through that root into the earth, allowing the earth to receive all of that as compost for new growth. And feel your own divinity, the light that you are, and really allow that to come into your body in this moment, to be anchored and grounded and connected into the earth, so that the earth and all of humanity can receive this beautiful light that you are.
Coming back now with this new grounded, incredible, empowering feeling, and coming to full alertness, 1, 2, and 3.
Look at that.
Fantastic.
Well, unfortunately, I couldn't participate because I've got to run this funny thing. So here's
know.
but
You
here's
have to
why.
go back.
That's it, exactly. This is the great thing about what we're doing here, and I thank Heather Rose so much for this, because we can literally go back and actually take the time. Okay, when you've got a quiet time, use that experience and pop the video back on, and that's certainly what I'll be doing. So we will get out of here. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for of all of the wonderful people who've been watching and listening online. Thank you very much, Heather Rose, for making just the time to spend so much valuable time with us and such great information. I wonder if I could just basically I'm kind of a bit chilled now. I don't know what to do.
I know.
I'm a bit
I'm
lost.
feeling a bit that way as well.
Exactly right.
And so look, Heather Rose, I feel you'll probably be back on the show again, probably to do the justice with your beautiful background in scientific environmentalist and as a scientific environmentalist and all this healing. So I just want to say thank you, and thank you, Aaron, for
No worries.
allowing us to come on radio and share.
It's an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for being part of the Genius Zone here on Eat Radio Australia.
Thank you so much, Aaron. It was so wonderful to be with you and meet you. Thank you for having me. Thank you, Terry. I'm so grateful for everything you do.
Absolutely our pleasure. Thanks very much.